a vessel tumbling violently through a chaotic, zero-gravity storm of modern expectations. The navigation panels are flashing red with economic turbulence, unanswered messages, and shifting developmental milestones. The horizon line is completely gone. You are in a state of absolute gimbal lock, spinning entirely out of your own control, unable to determine up from down in an environment that demands constant velocity and flawless execution. The pressure against the hull is deafening, a relentless barrage of external demands that offer no structural relief. Instead of frantically grabbing at the rotating walls, you reach forward and activate, or rather, you initiate a single, heavy, rapidly spinning brass gyroscope. The sheer, relentless rotational inertia of this one repetitive motion instantly forces the entire craft into perfect, unshakable alignment. The violent tumbling stops. The orientation locks. The telemetry stabilizes. That gyroscope is the 3-minute audio track you have had on loop for the last 4 hours. Playing a single song 50 times in one afternoon is the initiation of a localized, highly controlled stabilization protocol. The ambient noise of modern transients is constantly feeding unpredictable variables into your navigation system. Every unread email, every shifting relational dynamic, every unexpected financial variable acts as a micro-impact against your hull, threatening to knock you off your trajectory. The absolute mathematical predictability of a looped track provides massive rotational inertia against these impacts. It creates a sealed, frictionless environment that forcefully stabilizes an overwhelmed equilibrium. And there is a specific reason why you choose the exact acoustic coordinates you do. But hold on to that telemetry for a moment. Observe the specific phenomenon regarding how the human mind handles unresolved data. Studies on cognitive closure point toward a mechanism that makes this extreme repetition make complete sense. The finding, roughly, is that the brain maintains an active, energy-draining background process for every incomplete emotional event. A severed relationship that lacked a final conversation, an abrupt career shift that felt like a failure, a period of isolation that was never fully grieved. Which, if you carry a few of these open loops, might explain the sheer exhaustion that accompanies a perfectly normal afternoon. The system is burning fuel on ghost operations. The initial assessment might point toward this being a strategy for focus, but the deeper mechanical reality is isolation. The looped song acts as an emotional centrifuge. By repeatedly spinning the exact same bittersweet or aggressive sonic payload at high speeds, the subconscious safely separates the raw emotional static from the memory itself. It allows the neural architecture to simulate and process the unresolved feelings without risking a real-world collision. You are extracting the poison, while the vessel remains perfectly stationary. It is 11:47 p.m. You are sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark. You hit replay for the 14th time. The initial chord strikes, identical to the last 13 times. There is a dense, cold gravity pulling at your equilibrium, a sensation of falling without moving. You notice the absolute stillness of the room briefly before the chorus hits again. You do not name the feeling. You just let the audio engine run. Consider the mechanics of cognitive bandwidth. Listening to a new, unpredictable playlist requires massive cognitive expenditure. Your brain is actively decoding rhythm, anticipating lyrical structure, mapping new acoustic frequencies, and evaluating aesthetic taste in real time. It is a high-bandwidth operation demanding constant micro-decisions. You are sitting at your screen, attempting to draft a critical response to a high-stakes scenario, and the sudden, unexpected shift in a snare drum from an unknown artist shatters your concentration. The acoustic unpredictability registers as a threat, and the friction in that exact second is why you immediately revert to the familiar track. Looping a familiar song drops the cognitive load of auditory processing to absolute zero. It creates a frictionless vacuum inside the mind. It frees up nearly all of your processing power to navigate severe emotional stress or execute intense focus work. without crashing the system. You are deliberately starving your brain of new data just to survive the velocity of the old data. It is 8:30 a.m. on a commuter train. The car is packed with strangers, the fluorescent lights are humming, and your headphones are locked in. You are playing the spin track. Your face is entirely neutral. You have practiced the face. A colleague waves from the end of the car. You look down at your screen, pretending the physical world has not registered. There is a profound detachment settling into the periphery of your awareness. The audio loop has become a perimeter wall that external turbulence struggles to breach. And then you step off the platform. You scan your transit card. The track restarts. You are perfectly fine. I have mapped the telemetry of this next phase, and finding the precise acoustic terminology is difficult, but the closest mechanical approximation is this. The repetition is not about the music at all. The literature on music-evoked autobiographical memory indicates something profound about human continuity. The data shows that highly familiar audio tracks bypass standard chronological recall and directly activate the neural scaffolding of past emotional states. You are standing in a new apartment, surrounded by unpacked cardboard boxes and unfamiliar street noise. The physical environment is entirely alien. But the second the bridge of that specific song hits, your nervous system registers the exact atmospheric pressure of who you were 5 years ago. The acoustic signature reconstructs the emotional architecture of a time when things felt momentarily secure. We exist in an era of unprecedented transients. People uproot their coordinates, change cities, abandon career paths, and dissolve social circles at a velocity that leaves identity fluid and terrifying. The physical markers of who you were are likely gone, replaced by new contacts and new expectations. The looped song serves as a navigational fix, a fixed stellar coordinate in a rapidly expanding void. You are using the sonic coordinate to verify your own continuous existence. When everything around you is accelerating toward the unknown, when relationships dissolve into digital static, the track proves that you have survived the timeline so far. It is a mathematical proof of your own endurance. You have not been erased by the velocity of your own life. I am entirely aware this is a fascinating amount of psychological engineering to extract from a highly produced pop song, but the precision of the tool is undeniable. The need for this acoustic armor was built by an environment that refuses to stop shifting. That was the intelligent response to a world that offers very few permanent coordinates, a world where the ground is constantly moving beneath you. And the version of you that initiated this protocol was protecting something vital. It was building a perimeter when no one else would. The mechanism protected you then. Right now, today, does it know where the threat is? Or is it just running on autopilot, shielding you from a storm that has already passed? If there is someone in your grid operating inside their own acoustic centrifuge right now, you can transmit this to them. You do not need to explain the physics. They will recognize the coordinates. The next time you review your yearly audio statistics and see the same track logged hundreds of times, do not apologize for it. This isn't an anxious quirk. It is a masterclass in self-directed inertial navigation. You are deliberately using your spin tracks as bespoke psychological medicine to maintain absolute sovereignty over your emotional orientation. You will likely put the same track on loop tomorrow morning, not because you do not understand the mechanics now, but because navigating the void requires fuel and the centrifuge works. The unresolved variable remains. What does it feel like, specifically, to let the track in and sit in the absolute quiet of your own unanchored presence? The gyroscope is spinning.